Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Behaalotecha. And we're dedicating our learning to the safety and success of all of the soldiers in the IDF and the US Armed Forces, and the refuah sheleima of all of the wounded, and the refuah sheleima of Rivka Yittel bas Rochel. And as we look at this Sedra of Behaalotecha that we read in the land of Israel, and for those living in the diaspora, please refer you to the Sedra of last week, which was not so. And we see the themes of the Sedra of Behaalotecha to help us understand that we are holding the steering wheel. And although there are many fascinating events that are described in this week's Sedra of Behaalotecha, I want to focus on two particular events. The event of the meat that was sent to the Bnei Israel when they were complaining that they did not want the mon anymore. And at the very end of the Sedra, when we hear about Aaron and Miriam speaking about their brother Moshe and the consequences of that. And really, when I say we are holding the steering wheel, I'm referring to the fact that while we have desires as human beings and we have instincts and urges, what differentiates us from the animal kingdom, for example, is that we are in control. We are capable of controlling those urges. And I think these two episodes in this week's Sedra give us the wisdom to understand how we can do that. And if we can also use as a reference text the More Nevuchim, the Guide for the Perplexed, the text on philosophy written by Maimonides, the Rambam. And Rambam tells us, he points out that we have a seichel, we have a wisdom, and we get that from the verse in Bereshis, where Hashem, when he has created man, this is Bereshis chapter 1, verse 26, Na'aseh Adam b'tzalmeinu kidmuseinu. We will make man in our image according to our likeness. And we know that we can in no way resemble Hashem, the infinite, the ultimate infinite, and we are finite in every respect except for our neshama. But we have that quality of seichel that gives us the ability to discern, to rise above those instincts that feel sometimes so overwhelming. And the two instincts of this week's Sedra that I'm focusing on refer or can be understood as what we put into our mouth and what comes out of our mouth. And I think that it's really appropriate to use the mouth as a way of understanding how we can overcome our desires, because when we talk about the different classifications of life, we start off with inanimate, and then we have vegetation, and then we have animal life. And then human beings are classified as medaber, speaking. So the mouth is so central, so crucial to how we are characterized as human beings. And thinking about the first episode, which we read about in Behaalotecha, in chapter 11, verse 1. And the pasuk goes as follows: Vayehi ha'am kamis onanim ra ba'oznei Hashem. And the people were like, the translation is going to vary from edition to edition, but they were acting like complainers. This is according to the Gutnick. Acting like complainers of evil, but Oznei Hashem, in the ears of Hashem. And this misononym, this preposition, kaf, which means like, is a little hint to the fact that they were looking for something to complain about, because otherwise we would have just said they were complainers. Why were they like complainers? And I think that we can understand that sometimes we are looking for something to complain about. And while we are reading a very specific incident that occurred in the Midbar, in the wilderness, to the children of Israel at that time, I think that we can all see ourselves in our responses to what is happening in our lives when we find ourselves in similar situations where perhaps we need to have delayed gratification. We can't get what we want immediately. What we have is second best, and we will then use that as a bit of a launch pad for complaints. And so this is hinted, I think, in this word kumis onanim. And then it actually carries on a few verses later, and it says that we have it here, that the Bahasafsuf Asher Bekirbo. So this is verse 4, chapter 11, verse 4. And the riffraff, the mixed multitude that were in the midst of the people, hisavu ta'ava. This is the word. This again is like the combination of the grammatical reflexive. They were working themselves up to desire something. Instead of just say they really wanted something, it's really a way, the expression, the words used is that they are stimulating their desire. They are working on it. They are really encouraging that appetite and encouraging that voraciousness. And this is their complaint. They then complain about the mon that they have in the wilderness, and they compare it to this menu in Egypt, which does not sound like the menu of slaves, and they are specifically desperate for meat. Vayomru mi yachilenu basar, who will feed us meat? Zacharnu es hadaga asher nochal b'Mitzrayim. We remember the fish that we ate in Egypt, chinom, for nothing. Es hakishuim, the courgettes, ves havatichim, and the watermelons, the es hachotzer, and the leeks, the es habetzolim, and the onions, the es hashumim, and the garlic, the ata nafshenu yevesha, and now our souls are parched. Ein kol, there is nothing. Bilti el hamon einenu, except the mon before our eyes. And really, again, we know the miraculous properties of the mon, the manna, and they are creating a situation where they are manufacturing the negative energy. They are thinking about what they haven't got and focusing on that and letting that fill their head. And we can't underestimate the terrible effects of hunger. This has been very well documented. People who have gone through wars, you hear of Holocaust survivors who will often say that the worst privation that they experienced was that of hunger. And we can't judge other people who have been in a situation of severe hunger. But when we can actually analyze what they're saying in terms of fabricating, imagining this luscious menu in Egypt where they are slaves, and complaining about this miraculous food that tasted like whatever they wanted it to taste, that came from the heaven, hamotzi lechem min hashamayim, then we can see that this is a desire that has overtaken them. They have willed it into existence with their attitude, with their imagining, and then it is now out of control. And this is something that we can not criticize, but we can learn from them and understand that anything that's physical and material has a purpose to serve us, but it is not our master. The desire for whatever that material is has to be very much in the back seat, and we are in the front seat. We have been created in the heavenly image, in the heavenly likeness. We have the capacity to understand that material, even though they are necessary for our physical lives, material food, material clothes, items, whatever it is, yet that cannot be our driving force. And really, this is something, as we look at the attitude towards the food in the desert environment, which was a very harsh environment, but how the people reacted and how we can learn from that reaction and teach ourselves the lesson of the ability to be in control of these desires. And then just going to the last section of the Sedra, where we have the incident with Miriam, who spoke about her brother Moshe Rabbeinu. And if we just go to the actual source, it's chapter 12, verse 1. V'tadaber Miriam v'Aaron b'Moshe al odos ha'isha hakushis asher lokach. And Miriam and Aaron spoke about the against Moshe concerning the Cushite woman who had taken as a wife. And this results in both Miriam and Aaron being punished. Miriam more so, she has tsaras, she gets leprosy as a result, biblical tsaras, as a result of the words that she spoke. And this event is referred to in one of the 6 things that we remember daily, that along with the very basic historical signposts of our nationhood, that we have to remember going out of Egypt daily, we have to remember getting the Torah daily, we have to remember what Amalek did to us, we have to remember how we made Hashem angry with the golden calf in the wilderness, and then we have to remember what Hashem did to Miriam in the wilderness. And we can see how this negative speech about her brother, Aaron was included in the conversation, so he is therefore considered as part of it. But when we think about negative speech and the impact that it has, how it involves the transgression of 31 mitzvahs, and this is I think quite unique that any one act can cause such harm in so many different ways, can spill over into the effects that it causes. And just to focus on the fact that we think about Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron and Miriam in reverse age order as the elite family of the Bnei Yisrael for all times. And when I say elite, I don't mean in an arrogant way. I mean elite in the way that they contributed to the welfare of the children of Israel for all times. And when we see that, firstly, that the temptation for inappropriate things to come out of our mouths is something that anybody and everybody can fall prey to, even our most illustrious leaders, and we learn from this the account of what happened, what was said, and the response to that. This is something we have to remember on a daily basis. And I think that this is a very salient way that we can think carefully about what we say before we say it. When we see how Miriam is on a daily basis remembered for this episode, even though the allusion is in a very subtle way so as not to cause extra shame to her. But still, the lesson that we learn about how we are able, yes, it's difficult, and there is nobody who does not have to work very hard in order to achieve this. But we are medaber, we are classified as the speaking creation. And we have to make sure that the things that come out of our mouths and the things that go into our mouths are always according to the ways and the values of the Torah. Thank you very much for listening and wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom.